So I went and got the jacket. Holy fuck, this thing's going to be in 3 parts. It's insane. Here's my dad's jacket, right? The cross patch, awesome. The devil patch, more awesome. Ken Scarborough, U.S. Marine Corps. There's this patch from when he flew in Japan. It's badass as fuck. I saw Top Gun with him. Just a hint of that movie. I hear fucking Highway to the Danger Zone. I think about seeing that movie with my father and then talking about it afterwards. What was realistic, what was not realistic, how much he enjoyed the movie, what he didn't enjoy about the movie, how he fucking rode a motorcycle around and fucking met my mother. He was on the motorcycle, badass in Japan, all this kind of shit. Right? So great. That's what pro wrestling should want. So quit fucking getting your spandex in a twist about somebody saying something is fake that isn't involved with it. Fuck them. Right? Stop putting up pictures of other people's injuries and trying to embrace it as your own somehow. It's fucking lame as fuck. And instead, let's work on putting motherfuckers under the ether. Because that's what this shit is all about. At the end of the day, it started off as a con to make money. And nowadays, it just continues as a con where most people don't make money. But the ones that are really good at it end up making money. And don't you want to be one of those people? All right. Other news. We're almost to the commentary part. By the way, for people who have been asking, in the description below is not only all my Patreon stuff and all the rest of it, I now have an address to which you can send things. People have been asking. Bless you. I've discovered a cache of shirts that I have not previously worn, and I have not worn in fucking months. Let me put it that way. And I found them, including this badass thing. God damn, I got some great shirts. But people want to send me more shirts. They want to send me all kinds of things. Awesome. Address is below. The PWC Pro Wrestling Circuit flag match is back on. They shut it down, and they weren't going to let them do it at the end of September. But then the next day, they decided it was on. And it turns out that the town, it wasn't because they were homophobic, but because they were afraid it was some kind of gay bashing with a promotion that was just going to be fly-by-night and not be there anymore. And there was also a bad taste in their mouth with old school wrestling because Scott Steiner had apparently hit a fan, and that show sucked balls, etc., etc., etc. You see, shit promotions, when you do shitty business and you fuck things up, you fuck it up for everybody. But I'm glad for Pro Wrestling Circuit, in spite of that name, which I fucking hate still, that match is going to be on, and they're probably going to have a pretty big fucking crowd for it with all this publicity, and it's AJ Steele and Simon Sermon working that match, so you know that shit's going to be good. And by the way, tomorrow night on Tipping Point, we're going to have Simon Sermon, who are topical as a motherfucker, and Ashton Starr. What? But they gay, Steve. Hell yeah. We're going to talk about that and a whole lot more with those two incredibly exciting performers. Tomorrow night on Tipping Point. That's the plug for that. The AWE Managers Contest moves into round 2. And this time they're supposed to cut a promo about wrestling to try to sell tickets. And I got to say this so far. And I'm going to talk more about AWE Managers Contest as it starts whittling itself down more and more and more and more. None of the promos that I've heard in the second round have been a fucking wrestling promo that made me want to buy a ticket to come see a show. I will say that my favorite right now is Young Professor, but the fuck? Does anybody know how to cut a wrestling promo anymore? God, say what you want about that video clip of that fucking dumb shit that's going around that people are making fun of and all that shit, and they should make fun of it, and it is fucking pathetic and whatever, but it's a wrestling promo. He's promoting a match, and I'd be damned if I wasn't nearby if I wouldn't want to see it out of curiosity value alone. Something to keep in mind. Commentary time. This one probably isn't going to be as long, especially because this video is now in 3 parts. Fuck me with a broomstick. I said something. I was ranting a bit in my Patreon video. And I was talking about how wrestling, and again, this goes back to the rant where it's like people have such a hard on in pro wrestling about people saying it's fake. Well, another thing pro wrestling can do, if they're so worried about people saying it's fake, is to be real. What does that mean? That means no gimmicks? That means I'm just supposed to... No. Stop fronting. Because wrestling people all front. I'm going to say a couple of truths. And then we'll see where it goes from there. It may just stop from there. Because I may consider those truths powerful enough. Look at me. And this has come up in the past when people have... I remember one wrestling person in particular. I won't pick on them by mentioning their name. But somebody who was not a wrestling person made fun of the fact that they devoted so much time to wrestling. Not as a wrestler, but as a manager. And their response was to go like, yeah, I get fucking paid for this shit. And then they quoted the amount of money that they made in pro wrestling that was so obviously fake that I couldn't help but shake my motherfucking head. SMH, which I still think it's smack my head, but it's shake my head, whatever the fuck. Folks, let's be honest with each other. Get close. You don't make money at this shit. And if you do make money in this shit, it is not proportional to the amount of time and resources you spend on this shit. Say that again. You do not make money at this shit. Even those of you who think you do, even those of you who get $60 or more, that's not as much as you would make. Yeah, but I make my shit, like it's like New Jack said in fucking, Beyond the Mat. I like to make my shit quick. Yeah, okay, so you're performing for 15 minutes for whatever, but what does it take to arrive at that place where you're performing? Yeah. Conor McGregor is not making millions of dollars just for the time from bell to bell. He's getting paid for everything else. The publicity he does beforehand, the working out that he does beforehand, all the dues that he's paid. That's what that phrase means, right? You pay the dues to get the money. And all of that translates. But when you factor in that stuff, for the guys that do put in the gym time, for example, so they look the part, for the travel time, for all the rest of it, you are not turning a profit at being in pro wrestling financially. Here's more. With a couple, meaning 2, rare exceptions, promoters are not making significant money. In fact, most of them are losing money, especially when you factor in the time that they are spending on things in wrestling. Promoters don't make money. Bookers could be making more money applying their creative wares and leadership skills elsewhere. Pro wrestling in the modern game is not a for-profit business. Even at the level that you think, okay, I will have considered it, I made it. If Ring of Honor has me as a steady, permanent part of their roster, semi-permanent anyway nowadays, then I have made it. But the truth is, those guys are fucking struggling financially too. And they're certainly not putting any kind of significant money away for when their wrestling career ends physically in the ring in relatively short order in a few years. Nobody's making money at this shit, except for the obvious. You talk about not wanting people to say that it's fake. You talk about all of this stuff in regards to wrestling and how you want kayfabe and how you want this, that, or the other, whatever. Then embrace the reality. And the reality is this. The reality is, Ricky Morton, who is part of arguably the greatest tag team of all time, certainly the greatest babyface exclusive tag team of all time by far, and was the better worker of the two. Robert Gibson is brilliant. Ricky Morton is top 10 babyface ever. We call it being the Ricky Morton in tag wrestling when you're the guy who's taking the beating and getting the sympathy and selling. We call that being the Ricky Morton. That's what a legend he is. And he still has to take a small payoff from Billy fucking Bell to do a video because he's broke as fuck. Don't bitch about people saying it's fake if you're fake. Embrace the reality that people are working real jobs to pay for their wrestling habit. If you can embrace that, really embrace it, honor it, then maybe you can put in the work to change that if that's what you want, instead of applying your energies to how you appear to people online or how you fool yourself. Because at the end of the day, isn't that fake as fuck? And doesn't that make all the people from the outside who point and say, see, it's fucking fake, doesn't it make them absolutely correct? This has been Full Disclosure.